look, you have a choice. This is what it's like in the textbook. So, I want you to have as much information. I want you to make an informed decision when you speak English. Do you want to speak like a textbook? Do you want to speak correct and accurately? Or would you like to speak naturally, like your neighbors? You have a choice.
Welcome to another Happy English podcast coming to you from New York City. And here's your English teacher, Michael.
All right. Thank you, John. And thanks, everyone. It's Michael here from Happy English, and I help people speak English better. And I am so excited today because I've got a special guest for you. You know her as the language hacker expert. That's right, Kyra Sage. Kyra, welcome to the Happy English podcast today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Very exciting. I would love for the listeners to get to know you, so tell us about yourself and how you help people with English.
Okay, well, I help people hack English, which means take the complexities of English and make it useful and relevant for their personal situation. We do this at www.languagehack.co, not com, co. And that's also my Instagram, languagehack.co.
So language hack, right? So
Yes.
When I think of hack, I think of like mean people doing bad things to my computer. But you want to hack English, which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, yeah, hack has so many different meanings, like the coding hack or old person rude word hack. And then also there's like life hack, that type of hack, which means make it easy or convenient or useful. So I want to really differentiate myself from the Irish polyglot, Benny Lewis, who also has this language hacking system. He's written books about how to learn any language in 3 months. Mm-hmm. He's trying to make language learning fast. That's his way of hacking things.
Right.
My way of hacking things is taking something that's really complex, convoluted, and you just take the pieces that you need in order to be successful, making it useful.
Right. So like today, you said something on Instagram, like, okay, say something that's going to get you in big trouble. And then you said something like when Americans speak, they generally don't use perfect tenses.
Yes.
For the benefit of the listeners here, could you elaborate on that a bit? Like, what is it that we do here in American English that's kind of naughty?
It is so naughty because, in your ESL class, you need to go through several tenses and take these exams and such, especially for like a TOEFL situation or an IELTS situation. Mm-hmm. But when you really get down to, this conversational daily life English, especially I shared a text message from my friend, sorry, James, but he just messed up present perfect. Like he destroyed it.
Oh my God.
But native speakers, from my experience, and I have just traveled from California all the way down through the South to Georgia. They're using simple tenses, simple future, simple past, simple present, a couple of progressive continuous tenses. We need that ing. But other than that, you are not going to see future perfect.
Right.
Why? Give me a good use case for future perfect, please.
Get a better score on an exam.
Like I have to really know the future in order to use that tense.
Right.
Past perfect? Had done? Had? Sorry, no.
Right. And that's really interesting because and I'm sure this happens in other languages too, we don't need all of that grammar when we communicate, right? Are you hungry? No, I already ate. Oh my God. I used already and the simple past. I'm sorry to my British friends. But that would be normal.
So common.
When I got to the party, Jack was gone. Or when I got to the party, Jack wasn't there. When I got to the party, Jack had already left.
So long, so many words you had to use just to say that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you help your students speak, how we really talk.
Yeah, and help them to say, okay, look, you have a choice. This is what it's like in the textbook. So, I want you to have as much information. I want you to make an informed decision when you speak English. Do you want to speak like a textbook? Do you want to speak correct and accurately? Or would you like to speak naturally, like your neighbors? You have a choice. Good luck.
Right, exactly. And I always tell my students that, this is what's in the textbook. It's good to know, but it's good to know how we speak because that's how people are going to talk. So when, don't be surprised when you ask somebody, are you hungry? And they say, no, I already ate.
Yes.
Your expectation might be coming from a textbook point of view, but it's actually not necessarily how we do it.
And adding to that, students beat themselves up if they don't use it correctly. And it's like, yeah, but I'll show you a handful of native speakers who aren't using it correctly. Earlier today on my live, we were talking about if I were you. And it's like, yeah, but here's Nicki Minaj going, if I was you. There are so many cases in movies, in songs where they say, if I was, and I'm getting to this point in my career. Should I just give up on Unreal Tense?
Gotcha. So let's talk about your career. How did you get into the English teaching world?
I stumbled upon it. I was a study abroad student in Osaka, Japan. Osaka up.
Osaka in the house. Let's have takoyaki.
Yes. So I was a study abroad student there. And then someone said, hey, do you want to teach these grandmas? I said, okay. I started teaching them. I listed myself on a tutoring website, started doing that. I got some great grocery money. And that's what I considered it to be as a university student. But it wasn't until the end of the year when it was time for me to think about going back to the United States, where those first 3 students of mine, these Japanese grandmas, said, wow, out of everyone that I've learned English from over these 10 years, you're the best teacher.
Wow.
And 20-year-old me was like, I have a skill. I can do something. I know, they told me that should be your job. Okay, great. I had no other plans after college. So thank you for deciding for me.
Wow.
And yeah, that was kind of how it started. And the rest is
history, as they say.
Yeah.
So what were you studying abroad in Osaka?
I was getting my Japanese minor, and then I was also studying business.
Oh, okay. And so when you work with students, or if you could give some advice to students about, because everybody says, okay, how can I improve my English? Somebody wrote to me this morning, how can I improve my English faster? And I said, you can't, because learning a language is like learning a sport or learning a musical instrument. And Cristiano Ronaldo did not become a world champion soccer player because he had a quick way to do it, nor did Eddie Van Halen become a world-class guitarist because he did it in 3 months. So it's same with language, right? That's what I think.
I love that metaphor.
So what's your advice to students? What should a student do to improve?
I go back to what Language Hack truly stands for. It's make it useful for you. When you go to an average school, they're going to follow a textbook. The textbook always has the first chapter is, where are you from? I'm an American. I'm a Japanese person. I'm whatever. And the second chapter is usually something like, what's your job? What's your profession? Third chapter, we're at the hotel. It's always the same with these English textbooks. Right. So if you really want to hack the language, you make it useful for you. Maybe you never go to hotels. That's okay. Where do you actually go? Write that down. What do you actually talk about in your first language? Write that down. Now find the English equivalent, because whatever you're saying in your first language, you're going to be having the same conversations just now in English.
Right.
If you have that self-awareness, then you can learn faster or more efficiently, at least.
That makes a lot of sense, because I'm not a sports guy. So I never sit around with my high school buddies and talk about sports or football. That's not my thing. So, and I can't do that in my second language, which is Japanese. Like, I can't talk about sports. I can't even do it in English. So let alone try it in the second language. So that makes a lot of sense. Make it useful for you.
Yes.
Right. We mentioned grammar a couple of minutes ago. How important is it to study the grammar? And because I know a lot of students are obsessed with grammar rules and becoming, top notch in grammar. What's your thought on that?
Well, there are 2 schools of thought that I've seen on the internet with grammar. And one is be perfect at grammar. And the other one is you don't need grammar to speak a language. And I'm somewhere in the middle. You have to have grammar because you need some type of rules of the road in order to drive your car or get your meaning across. But do I need to be so focused on it? No, because even when you have the wrong grammar, I can still get my meaning across.
Right.
Gestures, facial expressions, intonation. We have all of these other skill sets that can still help us.
Right. And I always feel that grammar from the textbook style of learning, there's no context to that.
Yeah.
Right? So the Grammar in Use series, which I love and hate at the same time, it's just you're drilling one sentence, but in a real conversation, there's millions of kinds of sentences. You don't need to have that one perfect sentence for everything because you can make yourself understood and you can communicate, right? That's the bottom line.
Yes.
Do you speak any other languages?
日本語が話せますよ。
わかります。So as a language learner,
yes.
What do you think are some of the best ways to improve your vocabulary or maintain your vocabulary or grow your vocabulary?
What are you obsessed with? I mean, the thing for me in my Japanese, music, TV shows. I was obsessed with Gakuto, if you know Gakuto and Darukan Shiaru no Haido, and these Japanese rock stars. And so I'd listen to their songs. I'd watch their interviews. I'd go and see the TV shows and movies that they were acting in. And I just wanted these guys in my face all the time. And subsequently, at the same time, I was exposed to all of that natural language, natural vocabulary and usage.
Gotcha.
I didn't have to try.
So what are your recommendations for, let's say, American TV shows, or do you have a preference, TV shows or movies, or?
I suggest that if you're learning a language and you really want to use that content for explicit learning, TV shows, take it bite-sized pieces. A movie is just like a flood of information, way too much.
Right.
You're going to zone out after a certain amount of time. But at least with a 30 to 45-minute show, okay, that's enough.
Are there any particular TV shows that you think are great for learning English or better than others?
Something that's a little more modern that I've used in the past is The Good Place, like a heaven and hell type of thing, but it's really quirky. They use a lot of safe swear words, like shiz instead of the other word that means poop. I really like it. It's modern. Like, as I said, like Friends is great. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against Friends, but Friends is over 20 years old.
Right.
The Office is great too, but then you're starting to see The Office is like 15, 12 years old.
Right.
And that's kind of sad. Modern Family.
Or Big Bang Theory. That's even.
Isn't that wild when you start to look at when these things started? They're kind of old.
I was talking to somebody recently. There's the spinoff of Big Bang Theory is Young Sheldon. And I always thought, like, okay, if you want to learn a Southern sounding accent, like this, it's set in Texas, that's a great TV program to catch that particular accent. But yeah, you're right. Friends is from the 90s. So is Seinfeld. Yeah,
it's kind of sad to really think about it.
Right. So I know that you work with kids and you have a book now. So tell us about your book.
Yes. So I work with kids 3 all the way up to 12.
Sorry, one at a time or in groups?
So when I did the younger kids, those were in groups, the little group of 3-year-olds. Okay. And then with elementary school kids, one-on-one.
Okay.
But, what I noticed with the 3-year-olds is they want to show their power to you. They don't want to be taught. They want to show off. Like, look, I can do this. I can do that. I can do it all by myself. I'm a big kid now. So that got the idea in my head about this book concept. I was walking around the streets of Atlanta, Georgia, and I saw a lot of isolated letters.
Alphabet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, there's a P. Okay. P for parking. There are a lot of parking structures, whatever. La, la, la. There's a V. Okay. There's an R. Whoa, I better start taking pictures. Next thing I know, I had the whole alphabet, pictures of them. I created a photo book. And the whole concept behind this is we want to inspire kids as well as parents that when they go outside, your ABCs live outside of these picture books. Right. They're here in real life. Get the kids excited about hunting for them, pointing them out, and feeling that sense of achievement. Yes, I can read. Mom, look at that. I found that letter all by myself. And when I get old enough, I'm going to find words for you and read signs.
So this all became a book aimed at what group? Like 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds?
Yes.
Gotcha.
We're in the iPad baby generation now, where children are met with screens first. And this is my small way of combating it.
Oh, I see. So the My First ABC book these days for kids is on a screen.
Yeah, these days. Yeah, it's really sad.
For sure. And where can we find that book?
If you're a Kindle reader and you want to put a screen in your child's face, the ebook version is available. But I do suggest to get the paperback version, which is also available on Amazon.
On Amazon. Okay, great. And what's the title of the book?
Explore the Outdoors Photorealistic ABCs.
So that's Explore the Outdoors, Photorealistic ABCs. And there is a link just below this episode where you can grab that book. Excellent. So you're starting the 3-year-olds off, and I also heard somewhere through the grapevine that you've got courses for business people. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how you help business people? Are you also telling them, don't worry about grammar?
Oh, well, it depends on which industry you're in. I think that's key. Okay. This particular course comes from a culmination of the 9 years in Silicon Valley tech world that I've been in. And I just got kind of the most requested lessons. Okay, how do I delegate tasks? How do I answer questions if I don't know the answer to the question? Not related to English, it's really related to the content of the question.
Right.
How do I seem confident in a presentation? When the conversation gets off track, how do I steer everything back on track so we can end within the time we said we'd end in? Mm-hmm. These types of questions. And so I just compiled everything together and released it as a course.
Wow, that sounds useful. And so is that a self-study course or?
So I decided based off of my Platzi experience that I don't understand asynchronous learning too much. And from what I've seen on Udemy, on Platzi, on YouTube, it has to be, at least for me in my attention span, I'm a millennial. I'll admit that. I just can't sit there and watch someone's face and lecture the whole time for, a 10-minute video. It's too hard for me. So I have the offer of like, if you really want to, if you're that type of learner who is self-sufficient and can manage that, great. You can take it by itself. Here's the price for just the course. Mm-hmm. Or if you want to work with me one-on-one, let's go. And here's that price. All right. If you want to work as a group and we do it really like a class, and now that course becomes the curriculum and all the homework and all of that is still there. But now you just have that live component. Great. We have that too.
So you have all the options.
All the options.
Excellent. And so then do students need to be of a certain level to join the course? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So I designed this with an A2, B1 learner in mind. And yeah, A2, definitely not for A1, not for C1, C2. C1, C2, you need your own custom learning plan for that.
Right. That's for sure. Well, I think, Kyra, that's all the time that we have for our chat today. I could keep going on and on chatting with you, but for the sake of my listeners, can you let us know, again, where can we find you out there in the blogosphere of the internet?
Yes. Find me on my website, www.languagehack.co.
C-O and not C-O-M.co.
Co.
Language Hack. All right. Well, thank you for hacking this language learning podcast today. It was totally a pleasure to talk to you, and maybe we can do this again sometime.
Well, thank you so much for having me, for inviting me, and letting me share on your podcast. Again,
thank you, Kyra, for coming on the podcast. If you guys want to find her, she is at languagehack.co. There's no M. And that's it. Thanks for coming on the podcast and have a super day.
Okini.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Happy English. Please visit myhappyenglish.com. Show your support for Happy English by leaving us a review. Get English. Get happy. Happy English.